Okay, challenge number 2. Hopefully you were doing the last challenge and things are going well for you. Challenge number 2 is this is a really good challenge to enjoy. So challenge number 2 is, and this is a little bit easier in a way than the last one, and it is to memorize the articles of faith. There are 13 articles of faith. Hopefully you've been watching some of our videos on the articles of faith. We have a whole playlist set aside just to study those and understand those a little bit better. So memorize them. Now this is actually a challenge that my mission president gave me when I was on my mission. He challenged me one day to memorize the articles of faith. And what he told me was that how he memorized them was basically during the sacrament on Sundays when they're passing the sacrament, that's when he would take time to recite the articles of faith to himself. So that first you have the little card, or you open up your scriptures and you have the articles of faith in front of you and you just start going through them. And then you get to the point where you can have them actually memorized, which it'll take a few weeks of doing that to help you out. Then you can get to that point where you actually know them well, and then you just recite them. And so I took that challenge from my mission president, and that was over 20 years ago that he gave me that challenge. And to this day, it's just a normal ritual for me. When the sacrament is passed, I'm reciting the articles of faith. Sometimes I'll go through them forward and then actually go backwards through them. Start at 13 and go down to 1, just to help me to make sure that I understand and know each article of faith. So that's a challenge I'm going to issue you now, is to take the time to memorize the articles of faith forward, and if you want to try them backwards as well, it's kind of fun, but do it. It's not as hard as the other challenge we talked about with the Bible dictionary, but it takes a little bit more effort as well to really get into that. But memorizing the articles of faith is really, really good. I know in primary they try to encourage you to memorize them as you graduate from primary, but let's face it, we memorize them long enough to recite them and then we forget them after that. It's just like regurgitating stuff on a test in school. Truly memorize them, understand them, get to the point where someone could just call out a number 1 through 13 and you can recite that article of faith. So really get those down, because I'll tell you one thing that's been amazing for me with doing this is, as I read the scriptures, I find the articles of faith all over in the scriptures. So one of the tags I've actually put in my scriptures is a tag for each article of faith. So as I'm reading the scriptures and I come across a scripture that actually mentions or talks about, is related to the subject of an article of faith, I put that tag in it. So as I'm going through all my scriptures that way, now I have this tag that I can click on and it'll pull all the scriptures up that talk about that article of faith. So by memorizing them and really knowing those, they start to stand out a lot in the scriptures, and you can find them all over the place, which is really cool. So this is a really good scripture challenge for you to do, is to actually memorize the articles of faith. So again, leave notes in the comments. Tell us how you're doing on that when you get those memorized and things. We'd love to hear the feedback of how that is for you and what are you doing to help you in memorizing those articles.